You might be wondering how to present the merits and demerits of the parliamentary system clearly in your UPSC answers, especially when time and word limits press you. By the end of this video, you will be completely clear about the core strengths and weaknesses and how to use them in a crisp, balanced answer. We will focus on the basics first, build up with simple examples, and towards the end, we will understand a key idea that most UPSC aspirants miss. Think of the parliamentary system as a team sport, where the executive is part of the legislature rather than a separate opponent. The first major merit is harmony between legislature and executive, because the government is drawn from the elected house, which usually reduces institutional clashes and speeds up decision-making. This closeness helps pass bills quickly when the ruling party or coalition has a majority. So governance can be more coordinated than in systems with a strict separation of powers. Another merit is responsible government. Ministers are directly accountable to Parliament through mechanisms like question hour, debates, and the no confidence motion, which keep the executive under political scrutiny. Because ministers must answer to elected representatives, citizens get an additional layer of accountability that shows up in parliamentary records and debates. A third advantage is that collective cabinet decision-making prevents despotism by diffusing power among ministers instead of centering it in a single president or monarch. Picture it as a committee rather than a lone ruler, where many voices must agree before major policy decisions are pushed through. The system also allows a ready alternative government. If the ruling ministry loses confidence, another majority in the House can form a government without immediate fresh elections, preserving continuity of the state. This feature can avoid long governance vacuums and is particularly useful in parliamentary democracies with strong party systems and flexible coalitions. Finally, parliamentary cabinets often reflect wide representation because parties include ministers from different regions, communities, and interest groups to build broader support. Now let's look at the flip side, starting with instability, which is perhaps the most cited demerit. Governments in a parliamentary system must retain the confidence of the legislature. So no confidence motions, defections, or coalition breakdowns can bring ministries down unexpectedly. Indian history shows short-lived governments. For example, the Morarji Desai and Chandrasekhar ministries, which illustrate how coalition dynamics can produce fragile administrations. A linked problem is lack of policy continuity, because frequent government changes can lead to abrupt shifts in policy that hurt long-term planning and investment. Transitions between regimes, such as Janta and Congress governments, demonstrate how policy direction can reverse, affecting development projects and economic strategy. Another important criticism is the potential for cabinet dominance or a dictatorship of the cabinet, when a single party commands an overwhelming majority and faces few effective checks. Think of a very loud section in an orchestra drowning out the rest. When the cabinet controls the legislative agenda, parliamentary scrutiny may weaken. Historical critics pointed to periods under Indira Gandhi and Rajiv Gandhi as times when the executive exercised excessive control, reducing institutional checks. The parliamentary model also departs from a strict separation of powers because the executive and legislature overlap, which can blur accountability lines in complex policy areas. Finally, there is the critique of government by amateurs, since ministers are typically chosen from elected legislators and may lack specialized administrative or technical expertise. Although ministers can be capable leaders, the restriction that non-parliamentarians can serve only temporarily limits direct induction of specialists into top offices. For UPSC aspirants, how do you convert this analysis into exam-ready points? This concept is very important for your exams because it frequently appears in GS Paper 2 questions on governance, constitutional design, and comparative politics, and in interview discussions on institutional reforms. In mains, answers aim for balance. Present each merit with a short explanation, follow with a demerit, and a relevant example or case study from Indian history. and end with a brief conclusion or reform suggestion. For instance, write a two-paragraph structure: merits with examples, demerits with examples, and one-line reform measures like strengthening anti-defection law or professionalizing ministerial appointments. A small exam-level insight many aspirants miss is to link merits and demerits directly to public outcomes. Show how accountability mechanisms affect service delivery or how instability influences economic policy. That connection demonstrates depth and is rewarded more than a mere list of features. Quick tip: quote one concrete example in your answer, such as a short-lived ministry or a period of executive dominance, to show evidence-based understanding. To recap simply, parliamentary systems give harmony, accountability, collective decision-making, ready alternatives, and wide representation, but face instability, policy discontinuity, possible executive dominance, weak separation of powers, and risk of inexperienced ministers. Remember, the exam wants clarity and balance, not perfect advocacy for one system over another. So practice framing both sides in 2 or 3 crisp paragraphs. You are doing the right thing by drilling these points, and a little practice will make your answers crisp and confident. If you want, we can now draft a 15-mark answer together that uses these exact points and fits within the UPSC marking rubric. Before you go, keep this short memory trick: harmony, responsibility, collective rule versus instability, inconsistency, cabinet dominance. HRC versus IIC, to recall pros and cons quickly in the exam. Stay curious and keep linking constitutional features to real-world outcomes, because that is what the UPSC exam rewards most. Thank you for listening. And if you found this helpful, continue your preparation with EduRev for structured notes, model answers, and timed practice sessions.